can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to be joined by Danny, and we are reacting to the fight we have just witnessed between Eduardo Sugar Nunes and Masanori Rikishi, with Sugar Nunes becoming the new IBF World Super Featherweight Champion after a unanimous decision victory over against a tough Rikishi. I'm sure we'll come on to that in a minute. The scorecards read 115, 113, 116, 112, and 117, 111, all in favour of the Mexican. So we have a new IBF champion at 130 pounds. That is Sugar Nunes. Danny, take it away. What is your reaction to what we have just witnessed?
Yeah, Paul, cheers. Thoroughly enjoyed that fight. A fight that Rikishi made a really good start in. I gave him all three of the first 3 rounds, but he was having to work exceptionally hard for the success he was having. He was moving his feet a lot. He was having to throw a lot of punches with a lot of sting on them, and Sugar Nunes would just not go away. And really, he took over the fight from that point there. You could make a case he won every round. I gave Rikishi the 8th, and that was it. That was the only round from the third on I gave him. So I had it 116, 112. No massive issue with any of the scorecards. I think 115, 113. Don't know if I can find 5 rounds for Rikishi myself, but inconsequential. The right man won, and he's a nightmare. The pressure, it's non-stop. Often with pressure fighters, they'll take a round off or a portion of a round off, but he was in Rikishi's face, on his chest for all 36 minutes there. Punch power, head and body, quick hands, mixing up his shots, getting sort of creative with his combinations. He's going to be a real problem at 130 pounds, and I'm not sure if I was a world champion there, he'd be, first on my list for unification.
Yeah, a few interesting points you've made there. A couple of things. I think the body work you mentioned there as well. I think that was definitely underrated. I think Barry Jones and whatever was picking it up in commentary, but I think that definitely played its part in slowing Rikishi down. And yeah, just a word on Rikishi quickly before I kind of wax lyrical about Nunes. I think he's a credible. He's shown that he belongs at that level. It's just how good is Sugar Nunes, because he looks a real problem, as you said there. So yeah, we may as well give Rikishi his flowers, because I think he deserves them on it. As yeah, it was
Yep.
competitive early on, and don't get me wrong, some of the rounds Nunes did win. In maybe the fifth, sixth, or whatever. Rikishi was still firing back. He was always firing back, but he did very well to not go down. I think, and is it a moral victory not getting stopped? Probably not. He'll obviously have been confident that he was going to win, but when you look at the fact that it's the first man who Nunes has beaten hasn't stopped, then yeah, maybe potentially. But yeah, on Sugar Nunes, mate, I think really impressive. I think I've watched him a few times before, but relentless pressure is just a nightmare, isn't he? Like, he will not give you a second off. You can't waste anything against him, because if you do, you're going to get clipped. You look at the rest of the division and you think, I know he's only just won the belt there and become world champion, but yeah, you are not queuing up to fight him if you're one of the other champions. Maybe look at most divisions and you might think sometimes there's a weak champion there. Well, that's certainly, if there's a weak champion at 130, I don't think it's Sugar Nunes now. To be perfectly honest, mate, if I was able to whittle myself down to that weight and I was a world champion, I would not be lining up to fight Sugar Nunes, that's for sure. So yeah, impressive display, mate. I for one agree. Think that yeah, he's a real problem, and just his fighting style. He's just, he doesn't let you away with anything. You would have to be punch perfect to beat him, and for 36 minutes with that pressure, are you going to be? Remains to be seen. There's some really good fights out there potentially for Sugar Nunes, whether or not he's straight into unifications or what have you. And there was talk of well, I suppose both matchroom fighters. Could he make a Ray Ford fight? Is he going down a different route? I know they mentioned that in commentary briefly as well. Um, Obviously we've just watched that, and that hasn't even settled on the performance so far, Danny. But if you're playing matchmaker now, or if you're Eddie Hearn and you're wanting to, obviously Nunes' aspirations probably to become undisputed or at least unified champion. What do you want to do for him next? Do you give him a more favourable or easy voluntary straight away, or are you going straight in there for the big ones?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I like the Ray Ford fight. I think he's looked good since moving up to 130 pounds. I think that's an interesting clash of styles. All the unifications are really good fights on paper. Obviously, Navarrete, those two would be a war. Shaki Foster, that'd be a great fight. And Lamont Roach still has that WBA title, so you'd say that's probably unlikely given he's going to be rematching Gervonta Davis. We mentioned in the preview, Eduardo Hernandez, Rocky Hernandez. I think that's a good fight. All Mexican as well. He's another fighter who doesn't know how to take a backward step. But the way Eddie Hearn's speaking in interviews and the pushing that the broadcasters doing, it does sound like it'd be Ray Ford next, which yeah, I'm all for. I think that's a great fight.
Yeah, I'm all for that fight as well. And on paper should be easy to make with both being matchroom men as well. But yeah, looking forward to that, mate, if it is next. If not, yeah, champions, I suppose. Just before we round off, yeah, let's go through the champions. Obviously, you mentioned we'll leave out Lamont Roach because it looks like he's maybe rematching Gervonta Davis up at lightweight or whatever. So we'll leave that one. But the other two belt holders at 130, obviously mentioned Navarrete. It looks like he's going to have a rematch as well. Following his last fight, and then you've obviously got O'Shaquie Foster. Out of those three, where do you rank Nunes? Could you see him being the best of them all?
It's hard to say. He doesn't have the best resume of them all, but he could potentially be the best in like a round robin. So now I'd pick him to stop Navarrete at this stage of Navarrete's career. He's not been particularly impressive recently. O'Shaquie Foster's a good fight. O'Shaquie's got some skills and toughness and got some good wins. But Nunes is definitely right up there, and he's on the ascendancy where maybe you would say some of the other champions aren't.
Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. And what about I know it was obviously formerly Anthony Kakachi's belt that he relinquished for, and Nunes has now picked it up. We judging off what we've just witnessed there, and obviously judging off what we saw from Kakachi last time out against Lee Wood, the fight probably not going to happen because that's why Kakachi vacated the belt. He was going chasing those big money fights. But had that fight have happened, there now, who do you reckon would have got their hand raised?
I think Anto made the right decision fighting Lee Wood. Say no more.
Yeah, mate, fair play. We are big fans, obviously, of Anthony Kakachi's as
We'll not
well.
say a bad word about him.
Exactly, our fellow countrymen. So yeah, for sure. But I don't think that fight will happen. But yeah, Sugar Nunes, impressive display. Hopefully that Ray Ford fight happens. If not, I'd love a unification. Probably unlikely next, given the landscape of the current division. But yeah, big fights only going forward. He's an absolute nightmare and could well be the best fighter in the 130-pound division. Hopefully we'll find out soon whether or not he is or if it's another name. Danny, thanks very much for jumping on. As always, mate, always appreciate your reaction and insight. And guys, if you're watching this and not doing so already, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and let us know in the comments your thoughts on Sugar Nunes' latest performance as he defeats Masanori Rikishi in Yokohama, Japan. Danny, thanks very much, mate. Speak to you again soon.
Cheers, Paul. Cheers, lads.